Okay guys, so I'm finally able to get out here after spending about a week or so out west in California to finally test out the new Accurist S3 with its ACS 3.0 braking system. Now normally in this situation I would be using the Shimano BANTAM 6'8" medium rod, but I realized that the Accurist with its red accents looks so sick on this JACKALL BPM. So of course I had to pair them up. Let you guys take a good look at this combo. There's just enough red in there to set off the black and white. So this is a 6'10" medium also. Lure rating 1/4 ounce to 3/4 ounce. Got your 10-pound mono. And let's set this reel up. Now I'm going to turn the brakes all the way to their maximum position on the external dial. And Quantum recommends that you tie a lure on first and then, set the spool tension to where it slowly drops to the ground. So we're going to try the spool tension setting their way, and then we're going to try it my way. So it's a little bit windy out here, so it's going to be a good test. So I'm going to tie on a lure that's about 3/8 of an ounce. Should very easily be handled by this Accurist due to its super light spool. But this particular lure doesn't cast that well. It's a flat-sided crank, so it will tend to tumble and catch some wind, but we'll see what happens. All right, so I'm going to tighten up this spool tension. Once again, it's got some clicks to it. So it's barely falling, so I'm going to... Okay, so it hit the ground and there were some loops. So I think I'm going to tighten it up one click if I remember those instructions correctly. All right, finally able to pick out that backlash. So I'm going to tighten up the spool tension one click. There, that should work right there. Okay, so this is with the spool tension set to how Quantum recommends. The wind is coming left to right, so let's see what happens. Now, I can tell you that it feels very comfortable to palm already. All right, that went out there a pretty decent distance with maximum brakes. I don't know if you could hear, but the brakes made like this typical buzzing noise that centrifugal brakes make. It's a different sound than the Shimano and the GARCIA brakes, if I'm not mistaken, or even the LEWS. All right, let's do one more. Probably going out there about 25 yards, not a hint of overrun. And with the spool tension set this tight, I'm pretty sure I won't even have to use my thumb when the crankbait hits the water. So let's test that theory out. Yep. All right, so let's start backing these brakes down. I'm going to back them down as far as they'll go before the spool starts to overrun. And let's see the distance difference, but let's do one more cast on max brake. All right. So retrieve is relatively smooth. I guess it's got the average generic smoothness, but the knobs are very comfortable. And I can remember cranking the old Accurist with those really teeny tiny knobs that were really hard in texture and the short handle, so this is a definite improvement. All right, so I'm going to back these brakes down and see what happens. Okay, so we're going down to 8 on the brakes now. We're going to go down by 2s. Distance didn't really go up that much. I think I caught some salad. Yep. Okay, let's try one more. And here's a pretty good test right here. The wind is coming, as you can see, left to right. I'm gonna kind of cast into it. Okay, not a hint of overrun, which is to be expected because the spool tension is tightened down pretty good. But distance didn't seem to go up that much. So let's go down to, I believe it's going to be 6 on the brakes. So that's down 2 clicks. Actually, going down to 6 was 3 clicks instead of 2. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, starting to see some overrun there. And that's with the spool tension tightened down. It's pretty high brake setting, but it could have been some wind, so the wind's kind of died down. Let's try again and see if that overrun shows up. Okay, no overrun that time. And I probably gained a good 10 foot on the cast there. All right, so far I'm liking these brakes. Okay, so let's go down to 2 more clicks. So this is just before the number 4 setting. Actually, let's go to the 4 setting. Now this may cause some problems. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that was a little too much. Hopefully I'll be able to pick this out. This is going to be a short video. Okay, so finally was able to pick that backlash out. So let's go down 2 clicks and see what happens. All right, that seemed to solve it. Distance was really good. So I'm going to try to keep a mental picture of that distance. Going to make a couple more casts, and I'm going to back down the brakes 1 click as well. I think that should be the optimal setting. So it's right between 4 and 5, in between 4 and 5. Damn, that went a long way. That went probably close to 45 yards. I think this brake system is starting to loosen up now. So far, very impressed. All right, we'll make a couple more casts. Keep a mental picture of where that lure is landing. Okay. Had a overrun there, but sorted itself out. The lure went out there a long way for such a light crankbait. Now thankfully casting ergonomics is good, something that the old Quantum Accurist was kind of lacking in my opinion. And to me, casting ergonomics is just basically the positioning of your thumb on the thumb bar, and the thumb bar has to be rock solid. And that's just for me. All right, one more cast. Let's see what happens. All right, so we're definitely on the limit. A couple of little loops there. And lure going out at least 40 yards. So very impressed with this Quantum so far. It's comfortable to palm. The retrieve is smooth enough. So wow, yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to set the spool tension loose. And what I mean by loose is just removing the side-to-side play And we're gonna try to see how low we can go on the brakes, see if we see any kind of difference in distance. Okay, so I feel some side to side movement there. Okay, so the lure falls much faster now. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. All right, so the side-to-side play has just been eliminated, and we're gonna go back to 10 on the brakes, and let's see how it casts now. Okay, looks about the same, maybe a couple of foot farther than with the spool tension tight. Now remember, the lowest I could go was between 4 and 5, so probably like 4.5 with this particular lure. Okay, not a hint of overrun, as to be expected. All right, let's start backing it down. So we're on 10, let's go to 8. All right, same scenario. Didn't gain any kind of noticeable difference in distance. Spool still controlled. But, of course, I'm gonna have to stop the spool once the lure hits the water. So just an example right here. All right, so I'm gonna back these brakes down as soon as I pick this backlash out. Damn, this is a bad one too. How did it get this bad? Okay, finally able to pick out that damn backlash. So let's go down to 6 on the brakes. So strangely enough, going to 6 requires 3 clicks. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, distance went up probably a good almost 10 foot. I keep catching salad. All right, one more cast with the brakes on 6. All right, so that's probably going a good 30, 35 yards. All right, let's go down some more. Let's go down to 5. So I'm not sure if the dial is not lined up, but you can't really put it directly on 5, but oh well. Okay, saw some loops there. Distance didn't really go up. Okay, so let's go down to 4. And we are probably at the limit of where the spool tension was set when it was tight. Let's see what happens. Oh, yeah, that was a bad one. That was a bad overrun. I do not know if I'm going to be able to pick this one out. Let me try. Okay guys, so I was not able to pick that backlash out, so this is actually some fresh line. I actually have to drive home and get some nail cutters and some line and restring. Now luckily I live really close to here, so it didn't take that long, but let us get on with the testing. So we found out that going down to 4 was a little too low. So going down to, I guess, 4.5, which is the same setting as the previous spool tension setting. Let's see what happens. Now the wind has changed directions. It's coming from right to left now, kind of in my face, but we got to work with it. Do some just some easy sidearm casts to let the line settle, and then of course I get a blow up on the first cast. Okay, so apparently while I was picking that backlash out, a bass decided to hit the crankbait. So I guess I caught a fish today. Okay, so apparently these bass are just hitting anything, no matter what color line you're using. It looks like this is a smallmouth. That's kind of rare. I'm sitting here waiting for this guy to launch his boat and just doing some practice casts, waiting for the line to settle, and I keep getting hit. Smallmouth bass, kind of a rare catch around here. Shit, I might as well do some fishing while these guys are gonna launch their boats. Surprised that they would hit this crankbait with this yellow line. So while they're trying to launch the boats, I will say that this is pretty free casting reel. I wouldn't say that it's as fast as, let's say, a Shimano SPS Infinity, but then again, I'm not casting them side by side. Just in case you're wondering, this is a JACKALL Bling 55. It's a little flat-sided crankbait. It's supposed to work well in winter, cold water conditions. So I guess while I'm fishing, I can just back these brakes down. Let's go to 6. All right, I'm really liking this Accurist. So this is with the brakes on 6, and I really can't reach back and swing that hard because of this behind me. But the accuracy is very, very good. So I'm doing like a short stroke cast, and it's going out there. Just firing these casts out there. Very comfortable to palm. The reel is, I wouldn't say it's on the heavy side, but if I'm not mistaken, it weighed like 7.3 ounces, so it's average in weight, but you really can't feel it. Balances perfectly on this JACKALL BPN 6'10" medium. And keep in mind, this is with the spool tension set to just minimize the side-to-side play, or I like to call it loose. And I think those guys are almost done. A couple more casts. Just firing this little crankbait out there. Does make that little centrifugal brake buzzing noise, which I don't mind. All right, let's go back over to the testing. Okay guys, so I let the line settle on the spool after a few casts, and the lowest setting I could go on the brakes is right around 5. So the dial is pointed in between 4 and 6 to that dot there. And I don't think the distance is any farther. It actually looks a little short. Now this is with the spool tension set with the side-to-side play just minimized or loose. So I guess Quantum was onto something as far as how to set up the spool tension for this particular brake system. So the distance on that cast was probably close to the tight spool tension setting, but in my eyes it looked like the tight spool tension setting went farther. All right, one more cast. Okay, so apparently there's little to no difference in distance with the spool tensions set differently. I was able to go lower on the brakes with the tight spool tension, and it looks like it resulted in a longer cast. So let's take out a good casting topwater lure and see just how far this thing can cast. Okay guys, so I got the 1/2 ounce JACKALL mudsucker tied on, and I'm gonna back the brakes down off camera on both spool tension settings and show you guys how far each of them cast. Okay guys, so with the spool tension set loose, the lowest I could go was literally just 1 click lower than the previous lure, and it looks to be on 5. Let's see how much distance we get. So that's probably going out there about 45 yards, maybe 40. Do a couple of more. Okay, so decent distance, but I'm not really blown away by the distance so far with this lure. This lure should be able to fly through the air easily. See if I can time my wrist snap a little bit better. All right, not bad, but I wouldn't say it's jaw-dropping. All right, a couple more casts. Okay, so I'm going to try to remember that spot. I'm going to change the spool tension now. See if we can get any more distance. Okay, so spool tension is now tightened up to where the lure falls like this. There's hardly any backlash. Okay, so let's start casting. Okay, so with the tight spool tension, the lowest I could go was the same brake setting as that little crankbait, and that's looks to be about 4.5. So let's see what happens. Okay, looks to be about the same. A couple more casts. Looks to be about the same, probably about 40 yards. So that was short. One more cast. So that looked a little short to me. Not sure what's going on. Okay, so I was actually able to back the brake down to 4 somehow, and that looks like it gained a good 5 foot of distance. Okay guys, so we're gonna see just how low this Accurist S3 can go. This is a 1/8 ounce little jerkbait. And for this test, I'm gonna loosen the spool tension to just minimize the side-to-side play, because for lighter lures, that's the best way to go. So there we go. As you can see, the lure doesn't even put a bend in the rod, so it's going to be all real. So I'm going to back these brakes down to 10, and let's see what this super lightweight spool can do. Okay, that went out there about a good 30 foot. That's with the brakes set to maximum. Accuracy went off to the side, off to the left a little bit, as to be expected. So far very promising. Let's click these brakes down 2 clicks. Now with the snap swivel, you're probably looking at about 3.6, 3.7 grams for this lure. But so far, so good. Let's go down 2 more clicks. All right, distance it's probably close to 50 foot, probably close to 60 now that I look at it. That's pretty impressive. All right, 2 more clicks. We might be reaching the limit now. All right, so I hit the concrete back there on my backswing. Had to use some thumb. So I think we are at the limit. I'm gonna sidearm it. Yep, we saw some fluffs there on the spool. So I'm gonna turn it up 1 click. Hopefully that'll solve that overrun. Now remember, this is 10-pound line. Okay, had some more overrun there. May have to turn it up 1 more click, but the distance is definitely doable. You're looking at least 60 foot, I'm thinking. All right, that's better. Yeah, this thing's going at least 60 foot. So if you stick this Accurist on a bait finesse rod, throw some 4-pound line on here, I'm thinking this thing can do upper end bait finesse easily, no problem. And I just may have to test that theory one day. Yeah, very impressive. Now the accuracy is a lot better with this brakes set loose like it is. Consistently going at least 60 foot in my opinion. I'm doing overhead cast. Let's do a sidearm now. I really can't put a full swing into this either because of the steep bank behind me. All right, so far Accurist S3 is very impressive, especially for a $99 reel. And this thing just may be the best performing $99 bait caster currently on the market. Very free casting spool. The spool is even fast throwing this lightweight lure. All right, so yeah. Now the question is, how would this stack up against the CASITAS as far as distance? Now, I haven't casted the CASITAS in a long time, so I really can't say which one casts farther. I'm gonna say the CASITAS takes it just from memory, but of course, that means we gotta go out on the casting field.